And I think that we can look into doing that. What we have to be careful of is that we don't just indiscriminately tax all international money flows going back and forth. That if there's a tax on labor done in America, you could legitimately put a tax on it by saying, look, we need to have the tax to pay for some hospital services. We need to have the tax to pay for some educational services in America, right? So I think that's a great idea. Thanks for the idea. Sir, I just said the federal government could, and I said it was a good idea. Sir, you just did, and I said it's a good idea. So it sounds to me like it's a bill. All right, you do that. You do that. Yes, ma'am. I'll repeat it. Yes. Yes. Right, right. 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 All right. Two questions. Number one, that my real opponents aren't Carly Fiorina and Tom Campbell and Carly Barber Boxer, but rather the public employee unions. And I would say that the solution to that is right here on this petition called the Citizen Power Campaign. I was the first statewide candidate for office that endorsed the Citizen Power Campaign. We now have most Republicans running are now supporting it. And what the Citizen Power Campaign would do is the following. If you are a state employee and a member of a union, when the taxpayers in this room send money to the state of California, and that money is supposed to go to pay that unionized worker, a large portion of their paycheck they never see because it gets deducted by the government on behalf of the union. And it goes directly from your pocket to your government to the union. Now, about 1/3 of that dues check goes to political organizing, and about 2/3 go to things like health insurance and collective bargaining and other such things. So 1/3 of that amount of money, which in the state of California is well over $100 million in a given year, goes to political organizing to help convince you to raise your taxes and have a bigger government. And what the Citizen Power Campaign would do, if we can get it qualified and on the ballot for this November, is it would say that 1/3 of the dues that goes to political organizing would not be deducted automatically. And that the employee, the unionized employee, if they want to participate, because according to the Supreme Court, it's completely optional, they could write a check to the union for several $100s every year if they want to. The second question was about an initiative that is on the ballot this June that would create a modified open primary where the top 2 vote getters in each, just the top 2 vote getters would be put on the ballot for November. This initiative was put on the ballot by Senator Abel Maldonado. He put it on the ballot as part of an agreement to be the last Republican vote needed to enact the largest tax increase in U.S. history at the state level. And the reason why he did it is Abel Maldonado from San Luis Obispo is the most moderate Republican in the state legislature, and he knew that it would be very difficult for him to ever win a Republican primary because he voted for the largest tax increase in U.S. history at the state level. And so he got this initiative through that said the top 2 vote getters will be in a runoff in November. Now in this area, what will happen is the following. It'll be 2 Republicans. In areas like Los Angeles or San Francisco, it'll be 2 Democrats. Now here's why it's a bad idea. Imagine, if you will, that you have one Republican running in this area who is a true conservative who believes in limited government and maximum human liberty and low taxes. And you have another person who is a Republican, as we say, in name only, a rhino. And that person is very friendly with unions and very interested in maybe having bigger government. Maybe not as big as the Democrats, but still bigger government. So what do you suppose the public employee unions would do in that scenario? Well, they would back the weak Republican, right? And so then in the November election, when you have the real Republican running against the weak Republican, what do you suppose all the Democrats are going to do? Well, they're going to vote for the weak Republican, right? And then what do you suppose a few Republicans who might be swayed by all of the millions of dollars of union money trying to convince them that the conservative Republican is an evil SOB and that the weak Republican is a great person? Well, then you're going to end up here being represented by a weak pro-tax Republican. And I know that that would probably make a lot of people in this room unhappy. That is what this open primary, it's called a modified open primary in the June election. I am very much opposed to it. Here's one last impact it will do. I'm running statewide for the whole state of California. If there is no Republican standard bearer in a Democrat area like Los Angeles or San Francisco, then the amount of people who get enthusiastic and turn out and vote is less in those urban areas. That gives an advantage to Barbara Boxer. We need people everywhere in the state, even in areas where we're totally outnumbered, trying to explain to people what we believe in and why they need to be on our side. That's why it's important. Yes, young sir. Everyone hear that? Sounds like he needs to run for office in a few years. My only qualifier, young man, is that I would argue that conservatives generally support smaller government and liberals generally support bigger government. And Republicans, when they're doing the right thing, are generally conservative. But not always, which is what got us into this problem in the first place. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. April 15th is rapidly approaching. We all love it. What is my position on the fair tax? I think the fair tax, everyone know what the fair tax is? Fair tax is a national sales tax, with the idea being that we replace the income tax with a sales tax, and that allows us to abolish the IRS. I support the concept of the fair tax with one big caveat. We have to abolish the 16th Amendment. Because if we don't abolish the 16th Amendment, which can be done, you can amend the Constitution, then I guarantee you that you'll end up with both a national sales tax and an income tax. Okay? That's the only thing we have to be careful of with regards to the fair tax concept. Now, let's be clear. Anything that simplifies our tax code, anything that makes the tax flatter, anything that makes it so that more people have to participate is a good thing. Because right now, the tax code is so complex that there's a lot of people playing games with it. And when they play games with it, it distorts the economy and it helps or prevents the creation of jobs. People ought not to have their behavior determined by the tax code. They ought to go out and do the right thing to make money and then be taxed fairly on the money they make. Not do all these gyrations trying to avoid paying taxes, which is what happens when you get this huge tax code. Yes?